Alright, upon further reflection, Lancelot has broken the plot. I have nothing else to say. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones, Word4765, and Midnight Gemlord. Now, before I'm this discussion on Lancelot and how he's kind of just taken the plot over his knee and snapped it in half, please leave your own thoughts on whether or not Lancelot has snapped the narrative in half in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, when you're at that low notification bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. You can support for as low as $1 a month. You get exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, you can now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? I'm Pencil here, and yeah, upon deep, genuine reflection on Lancelot, where he should stand relative to the rest of the verse at this point in the verse's lifespan, and his recent exposure in terms of his raw stats, I've realized that at least the hypothetical story we could have told with 419 The Apocalypse has kind of been, for lack of a better term, thrown out the window, if what we saw is to be taken at face value. And here's the biggest thing: we don't know, and it's highly unlikely that we will ever, or no, we will find out eventually, but anytime soon find out if what we saw is to be taken at face value. So, long story short, no one should be able to stop Lance that is on the enemy side. No one. Nothing at all. Lancelot, if we are to take what he did at face value, him putting his foot on Arthur's chest and him smacking around Arthur while suppressed, and then the moment he released his good old juicy full power, he has Arthur with the chaos eyes up, quivering in his boots, while he doesn't even have a sacred treasure yet. I don't know what we're supposed to do with Camelot as our main antagonist. Literally nothing else in the entire series could make sense for Lancelot to actually struggle with if he actually feels like doing something. And I suppose that's the only thing that's stopping us. That's the only wall that is keeping us between Lance and the plot being broken. It's Lance's own personality. If he doesn't want to interfere, then he won't. But the biggest issue is that we can't have a satisfying narrative that way. Because the thing is, right? Narratives work well, at least in my opinion. Notably, I'm not a writer. I have no published work. I am not a certified critic. I did not go to college or any sort of field and write. I did not. You're looking at a guy who records YouTube videos and watches a whole bunch of YouTube. That's all I got. But I can say this. I do believe a tensionless narrative is a lot harder to write than one filled with tension, in terms of at least keeping your readers engaged. I've just have to believe that. And usually in an action manga, or any action material, whether that be manga, movie, TV show, something of the sort, any medium that is thoroughly based around action as one of your main focal points of tension, if the action is made irrelevant or tensionless, you're typically going to lose a lot of stakes and or interest within the narrative. Something like One Punch Man deals with this problem very well, mainly because Saitama, like one character who erases all tension when he is there, is rarely around for one reason or another. However, the issue that Four Knights has come across with Lancelot is that there's no excuse for why he should not do anything, and no excuse for why he shouldn't be around. All Four Knights are now gathered. The team that is going with the Four Knights is now also here, and Lancelot has more than enough power to handle every issue himself easily. So what does this leave for the rest of our cast? Nothing. At least in terms of their relevancy on a fighting front. Lancelot the War, of course, being the mightiest, makes sense on a narrative level. It fits the theme, yes. But in terms of keeping a narrative interesting by having relevant antagonists in a manga that's primarily based around fighting, having one of your main characters be so unbelievably powerful that they took the final antagonist, at least of this opening section of Four Knights, because once again, I've kind of fully accepted the idea that Arthur is not going to be the final antagonist. I just feel it in my bones, especially after the recent chapters. at least for now, the whole plot breaks. Because we can't have any tension with Lancelot. Arthur can't send anybody to fight Lancelot. No one, unless he has people who rival him in power, can be a threat. And if no one's a threat, what are we doing here? The whole thing about this new journey that we're going on is that, we can't find a way into Camelot. So we're just going to keep traveling until we find some way to get to Camelot. And while that can be interesting for a while, admittedly, the story we had so far was mostly just that. It was just, we're traveling and getting stronger. And I suppose this is just part 2 of that initial journey, but the thing about having Sin there, and Lance there through Sin, was that we didn't necessarily know how powerful Sin was. It just wasn't a thing. We all speculated. We can go back to the earlier reviews and see the comments being full of Sin's the strongest, Sin's amazing, Sin's Lancelot, Sin's Bond, whatever. The strength of Sin was extremely hinted at, and it was a common focal point of discussion, considering we were all wondering what his true identity was, but for the longest time it was not revealed, and thusly we had tension. We had worry. We had a reason to engage with the battles because we knew there was not a get out of jail free card traveling with the group. There was, but there wasn't at the same time due to the enigmatic nature of Sin. Now, with Sin being revealed as Lancelot and Lancelot's power being thoroughly established as relative to the King of Leonis, who was once at a time our most powerful character in the series, and then Chaos King Arthur, who is arguably the most powerful character in the series, unless this whole Chaos Clan idea comes to the forefront. What are we meant to do from now on? Are we just meant to believe that Lancelot will never take care of any problems ever? That he will use this entire journey as just a training session and he'll stand by and watch? Like, how are we supposed to do that? I don't know. It's kind of like, imagine if Saitama was in every single scenario in One Punch Man. Like, he was just always there. Wouldn't it be kind of annoying or kind of stupid to just have him stand by and not do anything, even though he could fix the problem immediately? I would think so. Why does Goku arriving at the last second always work? Because Goku wasn't there to solve the problem in the first place. But the thing is, we don't have that now. As far as I know, it's not like Lance is going to not travel with the group. Meaning that we constantly have a win button that has no reason but to win button. So we're in a really weird spot narratively. Because I think the narrative at this point, unless it's revealed that Arthur was using a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of his power, and in actuality Lance scales nowhere near Arthur or any of his men, then maybe the series can be saved. But that leads to another problem. Everyone's too weak then. Lance, being at his position of power, has put Nakaba in literally the ultimate 50-50. Either A, Nakaba has to write it so that Lance cannot be involved in any battles, because the biggest issue with Lance is that he has total control over his power. Meanwhile, someone like Tristan, who also has arguably near narrative-breaking power, doesn't have control over it and views it as a risk, and it is a risk to everyone around him, as we saw when he started to go berserk within Demon Mode. That is a power he cannot really access. Despair Percy is who knows how powerful now, especially after all of his amps. But that is once again a power he cannot readily access. Gawain is powerful, but not so powerful as Lance and or possibly Tristan are in order to break the narrative over her knee. And thusly there can be threats to her and other people simply based on the level of power she is at least described to be at. The rest of the cast is fodder. I know it's sad to say, but like, I'm sorry. In comparison to any of the four knights, Donnie, if you could put Donnie, Nasians, Anne, Isolde, Jade, and Kion together, and then sprinkle a little bit of Sylvan on top of there, and they still probably wouldn't come up to Percy's kneecaps in terms of utility and power. Meanwhile, Lance takes a look at the 3 strongest characters in this group, or the 3 second strongest characters, and laughs from his perch in the heavens. So either A, we have the narrative where Lance simply lords over them all and is like, I'm not going to do anything because I'm too strong and there's no need for me to. You all do stuff while I watch, which is a tensionless narrative because Lance is always there. We never have to worry about anyone ever getting truly hurt to the point of non-recovery or anyone truly dying because Lance will always be there to blitz in and handle the problem himself. And or B, we instantly make everyone even weaker than they already are because then Lance is still the only relevant one, because he's now able to fight these people that Arthur's going to send, who scale to that percentage of a percentage of a percentage of his power. You see how rough it is? You see why Lance breaks it? Because you can't have a balance like this. Especially since Lance has no weakness, or at least no established one, other than the fact that he may need a weapon to use Shining Road, his likely strongest attack. But even then, just based on his pure hands, mind-reading ability, and general insanity in terms of raw scaling, there's no reason why Lancelot, if he needs to use Shining Road, doesn't just take the weapon of whoever he's fighting and blast them with it. So, it's just an awful spot we're in, because Lance is here and he's actually explained. If he had some sort of weakness, like a kryptonite, then we could hypothetically write a story. Because that's how you write Superman stories. You give him some reason to be weak. Whether that be kryptonite, victims, something of the sort, Superman, also like Lance, clears most problems that exist. But you either have to make people who are as strong as Superman, like your dark sides, like your new gods, like your everything of that level, or other Kryptonians. And or you just make everyone Superman. But neither of those situations work for telling a well-balanced and logical narrative. At least not in my mind. So Lance is left in this really awkward spot where he's either too strong for everything we're going into, or just strong enough for everything we're going into. Because there's no way we can make him weaker. That's the only other secret sauce solution. That somehow, someway, Lancelot loses all of his power. And now he's relative to everyone else. But I think that'd be even worse. Right? Because then what's the point of him getting all that power? What's the point of him being that strong if we're just going to make him weak so we can actually tell a story? I don't know. Maybe you just shouldn't have made him that strong in the first place. And I think that's the biggest place where Nakaba messed up. I think he just made a mistake in making Lance too strong. Because why? Like, I get, and once again, you're looking at Lance fan 415. Like, Lancelot, despite how much I know that he is engineered, like, straight up, you open up the hood and you, like, build a character in a super specific way to make them super likable, super cool, super amazing, so everyone loves them. Lance is still number 2, number 3 character for me, because I can't fight the engineering. He's just built that well. But making him that powerful, even as a Lancelot hype beast, I think it was a mistake. I think it was a mistake. Because now I'm just stuck here, sat down, wondering what kind of hoops is Nakaba going to have to leap through? What kind of backwards gymnastics is Nakaba going to have to do to make it so that Lance doesn't instantly end every fight? Unless Chaos Arthur just starts popping up on a regular and starts wildly affecting the world or something like that. I don't know. Like, Arthur's going to have to start passing chaos around like a... Let me not say that. But he's going to straight up have everyone off the chaos sauce or something. Because I don't see how anyone can pose a threat at all. Now, it's just we're in a super weird spot. It's like if in season 1... Let's say this. In season 1, it was revealed that Bond... After all this time, because, we'll say Diane, because she's the second sin we encounter, just like Lance is the second knight we encounter. So let's say it was secretly revealed that Diane, in actuality, was suppressed for the whole series, like just holding back massively. And then, ironically enough, it'd be the same if we're talking about final villain, but no, I say final villain. Then let's say Kath showed up. We had all the hype and build-up behind Kath somehow. Like, we knew Kath absorbed a piece of chaos. Let's say that, right? Kath had just appeared. Chaos Kath showed up round start instead of waiting to be the final antagonist. And then Diane picked up Gideon and absolutely mollywopped Kath. Just straight slammed him through the earth, annihilated him, threw him into the sun, all that good stuff. And then Kath just retreated back to the future where it belongs. And then we just had to live with that for like the rest of the series until the end game again, where we take down Kath. We just had to live with the fact that Diane is just that strong. Like, stronger than every single threat that would go on to be a threat for the rest of the series. I think we have an issue here. I think no matter what, we have an issue here where That is exactly what happened with Lance. He stomped on the final villain. What are we meant to do now? Where do we go? Because we can't go forward. We can't go higher. Can we get much higher? So high. No. Because we can't. Where do you go from here outside of saying Arthur isn't the final villain? Or, once again, either Arthur's the final villain or he was extremely suppressed because he needs a majority of his power locked away in Chaos Land or Chaos Camelot. And that's why Lance was able to do that to him. And in actuality, other knights are actually as strong as the Arthur that Lancelot faced. But then what do we do with the rest of the group? That's the thing. That's the rough thing. And I'm going to make a video talking about how the rest of the human cast that isn't for knight, like they're kind of worthless. Even Nasi, I love my boy, and on sheer power front, he's kind of booty, he's kind of in a rough spot. But that's everyone with Lance now. Like every other character that is coming with us on this journey is pointless. That's 10 other characters. 10 whole other characters are just flat out, plain and simple, useless. Yes, I'm including Sylvan. But with that being the case, I just don't know. I have no idea where Nakaba can take it if he keeps everything the same, right? Like I said, if this is the truth, what we see at face value is the fact of the matter, where Lancelot is just so gosh darn powerful that Chaos Arthur himself is shaking in his jimmies over the presence of Lance, then the narrative is broken. The plots are broken. I don't know. I don't think I can be convinced on that. If that's just the case as it is, and Lancelot has free access to that power at all times, like it's implied to be. If everything is face value, done. If it's not at face value, still done, because the rest of the cast is useless. Because if Lance is that, and it all depends, if Lance is still that strong, but Arthur was suppressed or something, and we don't have to worry about Arthur using his full power, and other people are as strong as that Arthur, then the rest of the cast is useless, unless Percy gets death amps. Percy can get some death amps, and then maybe he could be relative and important, but I think he's going to need a whole ton of death amps before he gets anywhere near Lancelot. Then the rest of the cast is still useless. Even if that wasn't Arthur's final power. Say that was just a piece of chaos, like Cav had, instead of full chaos. The rest of the cast is still worthless. And then, say, third option, we just take away Lance's power. Wink wink, nudge nudge was never canon. Okay, even worse writing. Because why make him that powerful in the first place? Because the thing is, the biggest thing I have with Lance is that you didn't have to do that. Lance had already kind of shown himself. You could have just kept with the narrative implications. You did not have to show us him stomping on Chaos Arthur's chest, him getting Arthur to quiver in his boots. You didn't have to show us that. You could have just kept it nebulously above Tristan. You could have had him one-shot Tristan, and that's it. And have Mel do the rest of the fighting against Arthur, and the whole problem doesn't even exist. It is specifically because of his feats on Arthur that this whole narrative-breaking problem is gone. Or not gone, it's here. That's the thing. I wish it was gone. I wish we didn't have this problem, but it's here now. And now we're just all have to deal with it. Because there's no way we can look around it. If I had to rewrite that scenario, I would just keep Arthur away from Lance. Let Lance just be nebulously above Tristan. Let him be the strongest knight without him stepping on the final villain. And then we can have it so that we can actually have an interesting narrative. Versus this narrative now where it's going to be Nakaba jumping through hoops, doing backflips, splits, and stretches to keep Lance away from the bad guys. Because if we don't do that, then we have a boring, tensionless narrative. But if we do that, we have nonsense writing to keep a super powerful character away. One Punch Man is very hard to do. Let me just say that. One Punch Man is a very difficult balance to strike. And I'm not sure Nakaba can do it. However, that's what I think. I think Lance breaks the narrative. I think he invalidates pretty much every other character on our protagonist side. But these are my thoughts and ideas. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure the notifications bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do my Patreon down below. It's for as $1 a month. The only exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, you can now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.